Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the February 17th meeting of the Richmond Select Board. Are there any public comments? Mary?
Very cool. Especially in Black History Month, I would like to acknowledge the passing of Reverend Jackson, a significant leader in the not only the Black community, but in the nation. And I just think he led the way in so many fields. He was also there the day Martin Luther King was assassinated, an icon in overall history. So I just want to acknowledge his passing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Well said.
Any other public comments? Anyone online? Okay, any additions, modifications, or deletions to the agenda? Onto the agenda. Reminder that this Saturday, there will be a meeting to discuss the budget and all the items on the Australian ballot. Sorry, I
Next
apologize.
Yeah, you missed Saturday. Right?
Yeah, I missed the Saturday one. It's correct that on February 23rd, this coming Monday, there will be a meeting at 7 p.m. It's all the items on the Australian ballot.
That's here.
That's here in this room at 7 p.m. Did we get that right, Josh? Okay, good. Next we have a announcement. We have an annual outreach. We have many committees and volunteer openings. I think they've been posted on the town website, continuing outreach efforts to get people to apply or consider applying or volunteering. So if anyone has interest or you know anyone that has interest, you can find all those vacancies on the town website. Or if you reach out to the town manager, he can also fill you in. Next, we have a consideration of adopting a resolution to condemn surveillance and enforcement practices of federal immigration agencies. So this is a follow-up. We had a resolution presented at our last regular meeting. We reviewed it. It was not an action item. We wanted to review it again in public session where we considered adopting it. So everyone had a chance to look at it. Thoughts, changes? Any public thoughts? Mary?
Yep. Isn't the select board for Richmond getting a little over its skis by this? You're considering a resolution to condemn surveillance and enforcement practices of federal agency. If I get a speeding ticket, are you going to adopt a resolution to say, oh, Mary shouldn't have gotten that ticket? If it's a legal action, why would the select board have the chutzpah to adopt it as a resolution? It doesn't say non-binding. It says, hey, these are the big guns. This is a resolution. Why? Why?
I guess the debate would be about whether the actions we have seen publicly are illegal or not. So, yeah.
Is it for this select board to determine whether it's legal or not? This is a federal agency.
I don't think we're determining if it's legal or not. I think we're voicing an opinion of some members of the town and those who have voted for us to condemn this because we disagree with it. Should we not disagree with it?
Why do you have to approach it at all? Why can't you just let it be? Why can't you not let a legal action set?
It's not legal.
Surveillance isn't legal?
Yeah, it's illegal.
Surveillance
There are
is-
illegal surveillance actions.
It does not say illegal surveillance.
It says surveillance, condemn surveillance and enforcement practices. So some of them are legal, some are not.
That's not for the select board to determine.
I appreciate your opinion. I disagree.
And I was just going to expand on that, having seen a number of articles and videos in the last 3 months plus, it includes perhaps issues like individuals wearing combat gear or assault gear, wearing masks and not wearing identifying information, which has traditionally been an expectation of police in this town, the state, and this country, that you know who it is that's knocking on your window versus a guy with an AR-15 breaking your window. And then breaking windows. There was an example of, I think it was in Maine, where a guy was pulled from a car they took him away and they left the car on the side of the road with the door open. Not the sort of thing that you would generally expect to see in this town, state, or country. So I think those are examples of the behaviors that would raise concern.
I guess I would clarify, it's not personally my intent to condemn the existence of the agency or the need for some functions of the agency to exist, but the recent actions have gone above and beyond or further than we would expect. So, Caitlin? Good.
I think that if we do not say something right now that is going against democracy, it's going against our belief in this country, it's going against what we are here as a local government to do, which is to maintain the democracy of this town. And although it feels that we're going against a federal issue that we probably never would have otherwise, this is something that affects local people. And if we do not condemn this as our local government, then we are essentially showcasing that the local government does not have the power of protecting and informing its people. Now, we do not have the right to enforce, or not enforce federal laws. However, what this is saying is that we do not support that. We will not be supportive of any of those actions, and we condemn it. And as a town, that is what we believe, and that is what we will follow as our local government. If we don't say something, then what's the point of this?
Bruce?
I'll just want to address you, Adam, on this. When you say that you're doing this because that's what the people voted for you in, I voted you in.
Okay.
So you're not always representing everybody.
Sure.
You're gonna do what you want, but if you're gonna
Sure.
something, what's the action? What's the action if it happens? That's the question to you guys. What is the action? It's to sit up there and say, we're not gonna do this. What are you gonna do if it does?
I could comment to that.
Good.
Not just what am I gonna do if it does, and I'll speak for myself. I can't speak for the whole board. But what have I done in what's happening, and what will I continue to do, and what will I do if anything were to happen that we needed to act upon what we're putting forth as a resolution? I have been out protesting. I have made sure to speak the voice of what I believe that our democracy means something and that people deserve to have that democracy. I have been advocating for this resolution as a means to put on paper in this town what we will do and stand by it. If this were to be something that we need to enforce, which this is happening in Williston, there's a facility in Williston that is monitoring and getting ready to launch a larger scale monitoring system of social media channels, which means that if you are posting something about or have posted historically about friends or friends of friends, they can look at those photos. They can find people that you otherwise wouldn't have, thought of before. And then they can find those people's friends and those people's friends and family. And all of a sudden you have dossiers for people who otherwise wouldn't have. That to me is illegal, and it's happening right here in Williston. And I condemn that personally. And I am putting the resolution forward to this board as a means for us to all say that we condemn that and that we support the people of this town who are, there's folks that are already scared. There's folks who are here that are not feeling safe, who are looking to the town to decide how they can work and be a part of this community. And more than anything, I hope that what I've shown so far sitting at this table is that I believe in democracy and I believe in the people of this town, and I support many different voices and I support the conversation. And I, more than anything with this resolution, want to maintain that. And I see a threat to that in our federal government right now.
Can I just comment to that?
Yes, please.
I think what we're doing with this is blurring the line. I think the line is being blurred because if that illegal was next to your house that was a rapist or a pedophile,
Yeah, we're done. Mary, go ahead.
No, that's not fair, Bruce.
What do you mean that's not?
That's not
Yeah,
fair.
no.
You're stereotyping and you're.
Yeah, we're not going to tolerate that. We're done. We're done.
No.
I just have a comment. Post 9/11,
No.
Congress passed the Patriot Act, which allows exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, that was a
One
misstep.
skip, one skip. You can look at this, and then if you look at this, that opens everything else and everything else. So the Patriot Act already allows for that, which is legal. Thank you.
I apologize if I offended anybody.
No, it
Thank
didn't
you.
offend me.
You
Just,
did.
I want to be
appreciate that.
really clear that is not who they
You
are
don't have to
targeting.
browbeat me. I have a problem.
No, I just want to that's not who they're targeting, but I do, yeah. I hope
Thank you.
I didn't shut you down. I wasn't trying to do it aggressively, but just, we don't want to have that discourse.
Thank you.
I'll wrap that piece up. I think what you're trying to say is that there are enforcements of this agency that are, the agency existed for a long time.
Yes.
And the reason for that agency, for a very long time, it was to enforce immigration. And I completely believe that, and I believe and support that there are enforcement practices that do need to happen. We have gone outside the bounds of that at this point, and we are beyond the people who may have done something illegally, and that may need to have enforcement happen. If I'm interpreting what you were trying to do.
Yeah, I apologize. That's a much more eloquent way of saying it. Sorry, Bruce. No.
Thank
Bruce,
you.
this strikes close to home. I have family members who are living here, who are here legally, who cannot be outside.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, I
That's
guess
a
to
big
add
deal.
another anecdote, my wife has a close coworker, direct report, who has a passport, was born in the United States. Her parents are naturalized US citizens, and they got a visit from ICE at their house and asked them where their daughter lives now. And they live in Ohio. She lives in Vermont. And so she is in Vermont expecting a visit from ICE as a US citizen born here with a passport. So that's as close as it hits for me. But that's alarming that it reaches across state bounds and generations of legal status.
And I think,
Alarming.
sorry, just to like tie a bow on this, I think, again, I am always for the conversation, and I would love to get coffee as always. And I'm for democracy, and what I see is a threat to that. And my purpose of this is to call out that our democracy is at risk, and the well-being of people in other towns who were not prepared is already beyond risk. The things that are happening in Minneapolis are brutal. To watch children who are walking out of their house with their backpacks on, look at men and women in military outfit and assault rifles outside of their door patrolling the streets. They're trying to just walk to school. Even if they're not being harassed, that visual should not be something that they're experiencing in a place, especially like Minneapolis, where it's completely inappropriate. So that is what I'm after. I am happy to talk about this at any length with anyone. I would love to have a coffee, and I can appreciate everyone's opinion and have a civil conversation. So.
I guess I'd like to play devil's advocate if I may. Just a little bit, because I think if we're gonna do a resolution like this, I would want it to be refined to be appropriate. I've said before that, we are a border state. CBP ICE, they provide a very necessary function. I've worked with them on various projects, and until the last couple of years, my experience was they were always professional and patriotic people who were doing a difficult job.
You're doing it well.
I, like you though, I revere our Constitution, and I think the Fourth Amendment exists for a very good reason, which is that if a law enforcement agency of any stripe thinks they have an interest in what people are doing, they go to a judge or a grand jury, and they present their probable cause, and that gives them the right to then do what they need to do. I am very discomforted by the idea that bulk surveillance or wide net sweeps of social media might result in punitive action towards citizens who are just exercising their First Amendment right to complain. As much as I admire the officers and sort of line people of the Customs and Border Protection Service as they work in Vermont, these behaviors bring dishonor to an otherwise honorable institution. The pulling people out of their cars, beating them up on the streets, wearing masks. My response to that was to write a letter to Becca Ballant and our two senators and make that point and ask them to do something about it because I think that's their job. But I also was very happy to hear the chief give his presentation at our last meeting. That was useful information that people in Richmond can, have a right to know and should know, and there should be some clarity on what your rights are in those instances. I have a general discomfort with this kind of thing being town business, just because I don't think we have any real purview here. But I'm not saying I wouldn't vote for it overall. I think we just need to be careful that the language focuses on those elements of the Constitution that we think are clearly being violated and allowing that, that there is a legitimate role for these institutions to play. I think I've said this before, I think their political leadership is following the water for them, and it's disappointing. So, to the effect that everything that says whereas in front of it is true in my mind, it's sort of therefore the town resolves, and some of this may need a little tune up, I think, before we made this public policy. Just my thought. I mean, yes, the Attorney General of Vermont should have a right to conduct inspections of these facilities. So should our congressional delegation. That's their job. They have oversight over these agencies. I think the idea that we would condemn expanded federal immigration activity in Richmond. I mean, it needs to be underscored that if it was politically motivated or intended to intimidate, I am concerned that federal agents will be deployed to voting places in the fall. I'm really concerned that intimidation may be used to sort of try to keep certain people from voting. So there is a real constitutional element at work here. I just really say that I'll just be honest with my fellow board members that I'm struggling with us generally engaging with this kind of stuff, but it may be that Caitlin's right. This is they're acting outside of the lanes. They're the command and control of those agencies seems to have an agenda beyond law enforcement, and I really want to condemn that. I guess I need to sit with the idea whether or not this is the method of doing that. But I'll be out there protesting on the 23rd at the next No Kings rally. I will continue to write my congressional delegation. I'll make my displeasure known in every way possible. I don't know. I'm new to the board, and I'm trying to understand how this is town business, but at the same time, it does affect us all. So I want to have respect for people in the audience who feel the other way. And Mary's already left, but there is reason to want these agencies at work in our state, but something's gone awry, and I think I don't know. I'm going to let it go at that. I don't know if I would be ready to vote on this tonight. I guess I'd want to sit with it and see if there's anything we can do to tighten the language up or make sure that we're not sort of over emotionalizing it or whatever. I don't know how to characterize it, but I want to make sure that it's concise and it speaks to the constitutional points that I think.
Getting pointed and concise, accurate language is going to make it the most.
Yeah, I'm not assailing the author here. I think the more we hew to the framework of the Constitution, the more justifiable this will be to constituents who I know are going to pin me down when I go out into town and have something to say about this.
Sure. Can you mull it over and make some?
Yeah, I
thought.
I don't know if the sense of the board is that they're ready to vote on this as written. That's fine. I wouldn't stand in the way, but I do want to be careful with this type of thing. And
Barb,
I'll just say, I think it's reasonable to let it season a bit and maybe suggest that you could meet with Caitlin to review edits. It's my personal take that the times we currently live in are unprecedented. The actions and behaviors of large numbers of uniformed federal personnel ignoring basic practices. In fact, some of their practices of firearm control or muzzle control
Yeah.
are worse than you would see in a war setting like Iraq. People shot, like, in those theaters, there are many soldiers who went and never shot anybody. Even though people were doing dangerous things around them. People are being swept up, including at times US citizens or people with a legal right to be here in a style and scale that everything I understand has never happened before.
Yeah, and I join everyone here in wanting to condemn those egregious breaches of the public trust. I really do. Maybe I'm just sort of settling into my role here as a member of the select board, but I appreciate that thought. I think I've had my say on the issue. But I appreciate the motion. I don't personally feel ready to vote on it yet, we've got a couple of issues that are floating around out there right now that are really making some residents of town very unhappy. And
yes.
so if we're going to do this, let's make sure it's defensible,
Caitlin?
I thank you for saying that and being honest of where you are, and I appreciate the conversation. I think there's two key pieces that you said there that stuck out to me. One is at the beginning you said that this is disgraceful to the agencies who have done amazing work before this, and I can't emphasize that enough. I think more than ever, I have felt connection to those who have served before us and what they've fought for, which is democracy, and for us to be able to live free, and for us to be able to sit in this room and have these conversations and have this board. And that is essentially what all of our forces have done before this. This is no longer the case with that segment of ICE that we're seeing, especially in Minneapolis, and with the enforcement that's been happening with officers coming on board that are not vetted and are being escalated into positions rapidly.
without training.
Without training. It's awful that it's putting such a poor name against the folks who've served before them. I think it's absolutely shameful. It also, at first, I think in this presidency specifically, I had a hard time identifying closely to the American flag, to the just concept of America, and how that pride in that there was a little bit of shame there. And now I think it's almost the opposite, where I feel such a sense of pride for this country and for these people and for the democracy that we've built and that we've fought for and that we've maintained. And that's at risk. And I hate that it took for it to be at risk for me to realize that that's the pride in the country that we have felt of those before us. And, that's the underlying driving piece of all this for me. And there are folks in this town, to make it town business, who are directly affected.
And it's a salient point.
Yes, directly affected. There are folks in this town that have already felt levels of anxiety, who have had family, friends in other locations who have been affected, who have had terror events happen to them as a result of immigration enforcement, ICE, mostly unwarranted in that those folks were legally in this country. And I feel a need to represent the folks of this town in putting protective measures in place to say that we will stand up for them. And if I can't put this forward, and I'm certainly open to reading through wordsmithing and so forth, but if I can't put this forward, then how am I supposed to stand in front of them when the day comes when they need me to take a bigger step? And I think this is, this is step one. This is the baseline of what I can do in this role that I've been elected into. And again, I'm happy to have conversations with anyone and have a agree to disagree conversation if that's what it comes to, or just learn a little something from each other. I think that that's part of what these resolutions bring to play, is the ability to connect and communicate and have respectful conversations and try to see the other person's perspective and come together. I just can't. I can't say that I'm ready to vote for this if others are, and I'm ready because of what I've seen in this town happening already, and that it is, to me, town business through and through, especially with the community that we have in our schools, in our residents, the Spanish programs that we have as part of our district, and families that are living here who already feel at risk. So that is to me what brings it down to town business. That is to me what brings it down to our role in representing what we as a town will do. We as a select board believe in and what we will do. And I think that the things that are stated in here are exactly that, and that we are here to uphold the values and the rights of people, and that we will make sure that those are known, and that we'll continue to do things like we did with Chief Cohen here in that vein, that we will continue to support people that need more information, to support people who want to have a difference of opinion conversation and so forth. So that's to me why it's town business and why I believe so strongly in this. And I also can appreciate that it's hard to know if you're doing the right thing if you haven't spent a lot of time with it.
Vern.
So I think it's reasonable to come back after some effort to revise this, but I'll save it for next time. The people who came before us, I have relatives who fought in World War II, fought and wounded in the Civil War, including the Battle of Cedar Creek, and fought and died in the Revolutionary War. So when I think about how they would view our current circumstances and what they fought for, I firmly believe they fought for something else than what we see. And I consider that in terms of those who came before us.
Yeah, I'm not adopting an adversarial stance here in any way. I just want to be thoughtful about this, and I think we can get there, but it's not unhelpful to just say, okay, why are we doing this? I think you've answered that. I have a daughter who was born in Africa. I'm not a nerd to the issue. I get it. But I would just say if we could bring this up again at the next meeting, there's a chance there to get to sit with it, but also to get the input of the people of town.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get to control you. We all have, anyone can make a motion or not, so it's up to, it's what we want to do with it. Connie, do you have something to say quick?
I will be quick. My name's Connie Van Egan. I live in the town of Richmond. I have seen this select board over the past 5-6 years draw more closely to civics issues in addition to the many municipal matters that it carries with it. For example, in 2021, you created a Declaration of Equity and Inclusion, which, for example, condemned racism, welcomed all people, and in its final statement said, the town of Richmond will continue to be a place where individuals can live freely and express their opinions. This is one example of what the select board has done in order to make this the town that I wish to live in. When someone says this is not the town's business, the premise of our town, its municipal ordinances, rules, and regulations is based on the assumption that the rule of law works in this country. And when we begin to suspect that it does not work, we have an obligation to speak up, because without that, we don't have a working government at any level. So when the statement is made, this is not our job, for example, to evaluate what federal immigration agencies can or cannot do, I would like to point out that the resolution you are considering simply says, we wish the federal agencies of this country to follow the law. Every single statement speaks to that one thought, and that is based on the need for a country that uses the rule of law as a basis for making decisions. So please do not think that this is not related to the town's business, work, and having a community that's valuable, safe, and worth living in. It is absolutely your job to think about this. And just as an aside, I voted for everyone on this group that select board that I could vote for. Sorry, Greg. But I absolutely voted for you because I believe you have the insight and ability to make decisions that are not based on some previously thought of policy statement, but because you are smart and strong and good. And I want you to be that way. So please consider this statement as one in support of this resolution as it is written. And I hope you continue to have this kind of conversation and press all of us into having that conversation about what is right and good for this community. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Connie.
Thank you, Connie. So we'll do,
This is Caitlin. I move to adopt a resolution to condemn surveillance and enforcement practices of federal immigration agencies.
Adam, this is David. I'll second.
motion is second. Any further discussion?
I would just like to say, Greg, I appreciate all of your comments tonight. Thank you. And if we choose to move forward tonight, we should get a copy and read through this. And if there are amendments that we need to make, I think that is something that we could visit next time. And I think is a great point.
I mean, I guess my question would be, Greg, is there any, I appreciate and I agree that the more pointed and specific that this resolution is, the more weight it carries and the more forceful it is. And short of, this is a shorter time frame than the 2 weeks that you had indicated would be reasonable to mull this over before we bring it to a vote. But is there anything that, off the top of your head, after reading that really strikes you as either needing adjusting or removal or addition?
No, I'm strongly convinced by Connie Van Egan, who I respect and have known a long time. I, in general, am deeply offended by the trampling of the Constitution by any political actor. And like I said at the last meeting, I think the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the 10th Amendment, the 14th Amendment, those are the law of the land, and they can't be waved away because it's inconvenient. I've watched the issue closely. I do think that there's something amiss. If push comes to shove, I'm inclined to vote for the resolution, but I just wanted to make those statements of fact ahead of time, so that people understood that we're not kind of just doing this blindly. Yeah, I'm really worried about things like bulk surveillance. I mean, the internet just makes that so possible now.
Oh, we're there.
When they had to tap the phone line, they had to go to the exchange and get on a copper lead, and it was a thing.
Warrant.
It was unreasonable and it was impossible to do it on a scale that.
But if these laws need to be enforced, they need to be enforced with all the due constitutional protections that suspects or detainees they have a chance to get out from underneath it. So yeah, I don't want to stand in the way of this. I don't want to roil the rest of the board here. I just felt like I needed to sort of speak out for that perspective, because I hear it from a lot of people in town.
Yeah, I appreciate that. What would the board like to do? Any more discussion or would like to vote?
I have spent a lot of time with this resolution, so but that's I haven't had enough time with it. I'm completely open to changes, so if there's something that we want to change, I'd love that. And I think, Greg, what you're demonstrating is democracy. You're allowed to have a different, take a different view, a different
why we're
question,
having
a
these
different,
conversations.
exactly, that's exactly what we want to protect, so thank you for that. But I've had enough time with this and I've had enough say tonight, so.
Calling to a vote.
Bart, I.
Greg, I.
David, I.
Caitlin, I.
Adam, aye.
So Adam, before we move on, I just want to thank everybody for coming, everybody for speaking. I know there's a lot I wanted to say, but I don't feel comfortable saying it. But to Caitlin's point, these are conversations that we have to have. And I'm thankful for people bringing up concerns, having this conversation. Bruce, I'm sorry if I snapped. It's
I'd like to say, actually, Bruce, thank you. I think it's important that if we're gonna tie this back to town business, your question statements actually forced us to think about how this actually does relate to town business, and if it does, and if it meets the threshold that we as a board, that might be different for everyone, but that we as a board think is worthy of acting upon.
Yeah.
And so,
Thank you, Adam.
I think it's a valuable question, and I hope that you know that we appreciate that, and that this conversation took a much more reflective turn because of your comments. Thank you.
as a community, I think we're better having these conversations, as difficult as they might be, rather than not having these conversations.
Exactly.
Bart,
I just observe if we fully embrace the First Amendment, we would accept speech that we find offensive or troubling. So I would encourage us to
point taken.
more fully embrace that.
And to find. And you know, I'm always ready for coffee.
Seems like you're just trying to get free coffee.
I'm gonna offer you.
Oh, no.
No.
Yeah, it's not free coffee for us, we're buying it.
I just want to talk.
You guys don't get free coffee at work? Suckers.
If I had a quarter
work
for every
from
cup of
home.
coffee, I'd block
Kind
constituents.
of free then.
No, it's not.
Next, we have an equally exciting topic, the presentation of our FY25 financial audit.
From the abstract to the specific.
We have the auditor here.
Yes. Good evening, everybody. I'm Heather Hunter. I'm the audit director for RHR Smith and Company, and I appreciate being here tonight. And I hope the discussion is germane to the subject from a financial standpoint as well. So we will move right into this, and let me share the screens. Bear with me one moment. So are you able to see the presentation?
Not
yet.
Nope.
Hmm.
Do we have to allow screens?
Josh was already screen sharing, so we should have multiple.
Go to the advanced sharing options.
There we go. You're coming on.
Okay.
We got it. Perfect.
Okay, wonderful. And you can still hear me. Technology is a wonderful thing right now. So we're beginning these presentations talking about kind of roles and responsibilities. The first one being from a client standpoint, and just to make sure everybody kind of knows where they lie when we go into the endeavor of taking on an audit and moving forward with the audit process. From a client standpoint, your responsibilities include maintaining an internal control environment, suggesting policies and procedures to support that internal control environment, to understand your software and how it is utilized in carrying out your daily business, particularly as it relates to financial matters. We want to make sure you're following accounting standards out there that include generally accepted accounting principles as well as governmental accounting standards, that you're using those policies properly, that you are using a rational decision and consideration when you formulate estimates as it relates to your financial needs, that you are providing reconciliations, trial balances, and timely documentation as such. Excuse me, and that you provide supplementary information as we need it, and that we are able to look at grants that you've accepted and you've agreed to follow the compliance as it relates to those grants. From our side of the house, we are looking at conducting your audit within certain AICPA standards, which is the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants. They have standards out there that we follow and how we look at rendering an opinion, looking at addressing material misstatements that we may find throughout the audit, evaluating your control environment, but we do not render an opinion on that environment. We look at proposing adjustments for material misstatements as they arise. We look at your various funds out there and how they're tracking the information and do they follow the standards that are set. We evaluate your accounting estimates. We draft your financial statements, your footnotes, and your supplementary information, but ultimately those financial statements are yours. And we make any recommendations that perhaps will improve the control environment within your organization. This letter is known as the audit opinion. That's the goal that everybody is paying our firm for, to be able to receive an audit opinion on whether their financial statements are free from material misstatements. In your particular case, you have the highest unqualified audit opinion out there. So kudos to you and your team for getting that designation. And we'll jump right into the financial statements. If you have the audit report available, I have referenced the statement number and page number, if it's easier for you to follow along there. Otherwise, I'll be just speaking from the presentation itself. This represents the balance sheet for the general fund, and you can see it's a 3-year trend for that balance sheet. Your total general fund assets shrank by just under $277,000, or 2.6%. You had $1.2 million increase in cash and due from other funds that tempered the decrease in investments of about $2.5 million, and other receivables that comprised about $238,000. Your liabilities dropped slightly by $64,103, or 0.8%, and that's attributed to the decrease in amounts owed to other funds and the timing of this year's accounts payable. Your fund balance fell by $206,634, or 9.1%, to just a little over $1 million even. And we have what we kind of pulled together from a financial standpoint or financial ratio standpoint that emulates some private sector facets there, where we conduct a calculation for current and quick ratios. And in your particular calculation, that comes to about a 1.2, which means for every dollar of liability, you have $1.20 in assets. The difference between the current and the quick ratio is one includes inventory and the other one doesn't. In your particular case, since you don't have inventory, both of those not only produce the same results, but they produce industry average of between 1 and 2. So you're falling right in that industry average there. If you're looking at the current ratio solely, we tend to like that to be right around a 2. So that's a little bit below the industry norm. You do have another major fund out there. That's the Highway Major Fund. It had total assets of $6,679. Currently, it has a deficit fund balance of $1.3 million. That's attributed to the FEMA repairs that have been made and some timing of the reimbursement. Unfortunately, FEMA reimbursements are taking forever to come to fruition. So this particular issue is an issue not only across Vermont, but also in most New England states that have had national declarations out there from a FEMA standpoint. The next two slides deal with your fund balance because that tends to be an area that people focus on. In your particular case, you only have two categories of fund balance, two of the 5 categories that you see. You have the non-spendable piece, which represents prepaid expenses. Those are items that you paid for in the current year that you don't anticipate receiving the goods and services until the next fiscal year. In this case, that amount was $67,293. The balance is all considered unassigned, which offers the greatest financial flexibility to you. Here you see the 3-year trend for both of those categories that you have within your fund balance. Total fund balance, as a reminder, is a little over $1 million. And that is a 16.6% or $206,000 decrease from FY24. The unassigned portion contracted slightly by that 206,806 or 17.6%. And then the expenditure coverage, which is another benchmark that we tend to look at, is the expenditure coverage in your particular case is 8.6%, or you have about 1 month's worth of operations within your unassigned fund balance. Looking at the revenues outstanding and received for this fiscal year, your total revenues amounted to $11,223,642, and that was about a $789,000 or a 7.6% increase over FY24. Property taxes, like most municipalities, tend to be the largest revenue source. They make up 96% of your total, and they rose by $918,907 or 9.3%. Although the rest of the revenues are in comparison on this graph rather small, you did have a few other notable fluctuations. You had a decrease in charges for service by about $116,000 or 86.1%. Your reduction in investments contributed to the decrease in the investment earnings of just under $70,000 or 34%. And then visiting that other major fund of the highway had total revenues of $2.6 million. It increased by just over $839,000 or 48.8%. You had both increases in taxes of about $612,000 and intergovernmental revenues of about $225,000. That accounts for that change. Looking at it from a budget to actual standpoint, you had budgeted revenues of $11,647,215. And then your actual came in at a little over $12.2 million, producing a surplus of $574,448 or 4.9% of budget. Your transfers from other funds, because it represents the largest portion of that surplus, that accounts for the ARPA transfer in. Likewise, you have your 3-year trend on your expenditures. And again, this graph gets a little crowded with all of the categories on here, but you can see your total expenditures. In this particular case, they increased by $1.4 million or 13.7% to the $11,291,651. And again, similar to other municipalities, education makes up the bulk of that operating budget. In your particular case, it's 77% of your total expenditures, and they rose this past year by 1.25 million or 16.8%. And then your other departments had minor fluctuations, both increase and decrease, but clearly the increase was driven by education. The highway fund had total expenditures of $3.9 million. That rose by $1.9 million or just shy of 98%. Looking at your budgetary comparison here, again, you had a balanced budget. There were no supplemental appropriations. In this particular year, there were no planned use of fund balance. You had an overall expenditure deficit of $781,082 or 6.7% of the budget. The expenditure deficit all arose from your transfers to other funds. You did have some other deficits in your unclassified and your town administration as well. And those were tempered by your surplus produced in the police department. So if you look at both your revenues and your expenditures, your combined total results had a net deficit of $206,634. At this point, that concludes the general fund portion of the presentation. I would also add, we are happy to say there were no management letter recommendations for your town this year as far as best practice improvements. So kudos to you and the staff, as well as from a single audit standpoint, there were no findings in question cost. So again, both of those are remarkable when you look at the organization as a whole and to your staff. So again, kudos to the team. And at this point, I'd be happy to answer any questions anybody may have.
Any questions?
I don't think I have any questions, but thank you, Connie, for all your work on this to get us such a great audit. And thank you, Heather, for that too. But thank you, Connie, for the work that you put in here to make it very successful, and Josh as well.
Adam, I just want to throw a
Heather, can
Go
you
ahead.
explain what the single audit was and what the main cause, is it one program that triggered that, or was it multiple programs?
This particular case this year, I believe it was pretty much driven by the FEMA expenditures. And it's funny you bring that up, Connie, because most municipalities, they think that it's based upon the grant award itself. And the single audit is based upon when you expend the money for, I would say, 98% of the programs out there. So that's the trigger on what we'll need a single audit. And the good news is for year ends after September 30th, 2025, the trigger that requires a single audit goes from $750,000 to $1 million. So hopefully that increase in threshold will reduce the need, especially for some of the smaller towns, because that's a big ask to go through a single audit. There's a lot of detail testing, as you know, and paperwork to pull. So yes, I'm hoping that that helps some of our smaller municipalities and school systems out there, the increase in that threshold.
And I think the largest part when we talk about the single audit and the FEMA stuff is Josh, Duncan, Pete, Steve. They are just all so on top of it the second the event happens. Richmond is very lucky to have a group that just jumps into action immediately, and very fortunate that we had the money, that we didn't have to think about where is the money coming from.
And I can tell you, not all municipalities are in that particular situation. And they are trying to get lines of credit out there and to bridge that expenditure versus the reimbursement gap.
Yeah, Heather, can you explain to our board and the public how it is important how important it is and why it is important that we don't have findings, what the financial impact to the town can be when we do have findings.
There's a couple different ways to look at findings. Some people assume management letter comments are always negative in nature, and it's not, they can be. Most definitely they can be. But on the flip side, it does give you an opportunity to look at them to improve business practices within your organization. So I think it depends on the comment itself. To have no management letter comments is most definitely a good thing. The impact of some management letter comments could impact future grant opportunities is probably the biggest one. I have seen some feedback from insurance companies, depending on what those management letter comments are. If there's something related to cash handling, reconciliations, those types of things, they tend to get a little closer look by your insurance company, specifically with your liability side of the house and looking at your the fiduciary responsibilities as well. Those probably are the two biggest ones out there. Otherwise, it allows for continuity and succession planning if you have the support of your policies and procedures. So if you don't have that, that tends to be a management letter comments. And again, that's best practice. You can never anticipate, what may happen. We've seen a lot of crazy things lately, and we've seen turnover, planned and unplanned within various municipalities. And to have some of those policies and procedures to fall back on, it has definitely made the difference on their success for a seamless transition.
And also it could impact lending institutions. Because I know anytime I get into something like that, they want our most recent audit to look at. And I know all they're looking at is the find to see if there's findings.
Great. Thank you, Connie. Thank you, Heather. Any more questions?
Adam, I just wanted to point out that the finding of a clean audit wasn't coincidence. It was thoughtful planning with town staff, auditors, finance director, this board. As we all know, I won't get into the weeds, but we were throwing many curveballs over the past year, and through proactive planning and hard work, we navigated that, and this is the result. So I'm appreciative for all the hard.
It's basically a 3-month process. And I think people why is it so much work? It's well, basically every financial transaction that we've done in the past year, I have to be able to supply and explain it. It doesn't mean they're looking at everyone, but I never know what their target is going to be. So, but we literally upload probably hundreds of documents.
Great.
Thank you for your work, Connie.
Yeah, thank you, Connie. Thank you, Heather.
We'll say the town I grew up in and the town I work in did not have very successful audits. So I appreciate that we do.
I haven't checked in on my town, so I grew up in. Don't plan on it.
Thank you, Heather. It's been a pleasure working with you and Sam.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your evening and meeting.
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
We have a review of our second quarter financials for FY26.
Yeah, so these financials, I'll run through it if you want.
Perfect. Thank you, Josh.
All right. So these financials show the actuals for the first 6 months of the year, so the first half of the year. So there's a number of documents in the packet, but as you're looking at the budget status reports in general, we're looking to be at about 50% of expenses. Revenue is always going to show as a 100% build. But if we start with the taxes collected right now, we're actually at about 110% of 50% of the taxes. So trending a little bit ahead. A lot of that's due to some people paying their taxes ahead of time. Some people will pay for the full year right away. So that tends to trend things up a little bit at the beginning. We will probably get close to full payment by the end of the year, there's always a few delinquencies, but our tax collector, Lori Risbin, does a really good job of helping people get on payment plans and getting to people quickly when she sees that they're falling behind. So overall, delinquencies haven't been a very big problem for the town of Richmond for the last number of years. Looking at the the expenses side, police continues to be very much under budget due to some vacancy savings that started the year out. Chief Cohen is working on correcting that and hiring some more officers. We just hired 2 a couple weeks ago, and we're looking good to get a few more here hopefully shortly. So we'll start to see some of those vacancy savings go away. Right now, police is about 20% of expenses as budgeted. So you would expect that to be closer to 50% 6 months through the year. Fire department is also under budget. They're at about 27% of budget, again, due to savings in a little bit of salaries, also some radio repair needs assessment that we opted to not do this year for the needs assessment. We might see some of those salaries go up. It's been a very busy last few months for our police department, for our fire department, as they've been responding to a lot of slide offs, a lot of winter weather, keeping them very busy. Highway, also due to the winter, has been very busy. They were at about 52% of their wages through the end of December. I expect that that's going to continue to increase with overtime in January and February. Sand right now is showing it's over budget, but there were some building errors with Heinsberg Sand and Gravel that we're working on correcting. But in general, I do expect that both sand and salt will probably finish the year over budget. It just has been a very snowy winter, and Pete needs to get the materials that he needs to continue to keep the roads in good shape. There is a pretty good salt shortage right now, and Pete is having trouble getting deliveries, but he's working with the agency or with the salt company to get as many as he can and keep the roads going melted as possible. He's also mixing in some sand to some of the paved roads to try to cut back on the amount of salt that he has to use. So that's sort of a high-level overview. Happy to dive into anything more specific if anybody has any questions.
Any questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Thank you, Josh.
Thank you all.
Next, we have consideration of setting a hearing to approve the FY27 Capital Plan. I think there are no major changes to this, right? So our FY27 Capital Plan is as presented in the budget meetings initially, and then is an update of the FY26 Capital Plan.
Yeah, this is the same plan that we've been working with in the budget, as you mentioned, in the budget meetings through September, October, November, and December. So I think the board should be fairly familiar with it and how much we rely on that for the funding of the reserve accounts and for our next big purchases. Connie's done a great job sort of reinventing our capital plan over the last 4 or 5 years. It never used to be in such a nice, presentable manner. So thanks to Connie for putting that together and for the department heads for their due diligence on following up on what their next replacement schedule is going to be. I think the only change I noted is in talking with Pete on Friday before posting the agenda, I think we have the trade-in for one of the dump trucks in the wrong fiscal year. We'd have to bump it out 1 fiscal year. Connie, I didn't get a chance to talk to you about that today, but it's the truck that he has the POs in for tonight. So we'll just correct that one small thing. It'll move it from, I think, FY26 to FY27, but doesn't change any of the bottom line numbers, just a small change in when we're going to realize that based on the trade-in.
Great, thank you. Anyone have any questions? Consider setting a date. We could do, I think the soonest we can do is March 16th.
Does that work?
It's a regular, or second regular of March.
Set.
So I would move to set a hearing date for Monday, March 16th, 2026 for the fiscal year 27 capital plan. We're getting feedback from somewhere. There's a delay.
Yeah. Is that someone's volume on?
Sounds like it's over there.
Well, it's coming through the speakers, but it's about a second delayed.
It's probably one of the mics. Sorry, what day is St. Patrick's Day?
The day after that.
Okay, just making sure we're not
You mean
trying to schedule it.
Austin's due date? Is this a major concern?
Well, I just want, if people, if we're gonna set a town meeting, I don't want it to be on a date that. many
Maybe,
people
maybe
might
doing
be
it on our,
Maybe it might smell like cabbage and corned beef or something.
setting our entire capital plan for the next however many years after drinking green Bud Lights is the
Yes.
greatest plan. Yeah. Have a motion. Do we have a second? We had a second?
Not yet.
Is Bart, I'll second it.
Any discussion about the date? All those in favor?
Bart, aye.
Greg, aye.
David, I.
Caitlin, I.
Adam, I. So that's March 16th for final setting of our capital plan. Next, we have a public hearing to review the changes made by the select board at their January 21st meeting to the 2026 town plan. They'll be voted on by the voters on town meeting day, March 3rd, 2026. So I think as an reminder at the meeting approximately a month ago, we reviewed and had a hearing for our town plan. There were changes made to it that made it necessary to warn a new meeting and a new hearing. This is that hearing. That change that was made was taking the map that was proposed by the committee and reverting back to the map, a little more vague map that was presented by CCRPC. So we can go through that change. We cannot make any changes to this tonight if we are to vote on it at town meeting day, and it is warned on the town meeting on the ballot. So this is a review and an approval. Set the expectation.
This is Bart, I move to open the public hearing to consider the 2026 town plan update.
Caitlin, I'll second.
All those in favor?
Bart, aye.
Greg, aye.
David, I.
Caitlin, I.
Adam, I. Where's that? What's going on?
It's going through the speakers.
Someone have their volume up in here? No?
No, I think.
Do you have the mic on one of the laptops in addition? to
You would hear it. That feedback is. So I'm trying to see, let's see if I can shut it.
Right.
Can you mute everyone that's not? Okay, yeah, I'm gonna mute a few people here just to.
One of the Lisa Millers isn't muted.
Okay, let's see. Oh, ask to unmute. Ask to unmute. Where did Lisa go? There's Lisa. Oh, there it is.
Maybe I fixed it?
No.
We got it.
Yeah, that fixed it. Thanks. That's driving me nuts.
You guys have much better hearing than I do.
Well, that one speaker is aimed right at me.
Keith or Virginia, would you like to give us an overview?
Well, I think that you did a fine job, Adam, and I will turn it over to Virginia. That is her document.
Thank you, Keith. I
welcome.
was going to let you do it, but that's fine. It should be fairly short. The Planning Commission was required to statutorily to write a report on whether the plan as changed by the Select Board still continued to meet the statutory requirements for a municipal town plan. And since the only change that was made essentially was to remove the proposed map and put in the regional plans map, that appeared to be consistent with the goals that the regional plan also has to meet. So we felt that there would be no question as to whether this plan actually met the goals. Both the regional plan and the municipal plan have to meet the same goals. So if we're using the regional plan's map, it's likely to meet the goals. So that's the gist of the report. It was very short. We did find that we had to go through the section of the future land use map that we changed. We had to go through the section and make a few alterations in the wording to not refer to our proposed map, but to refer to the regional map that we were now proposing to use. So I don't know if there are any questions. I think we went through pretty much all the rationale for doing this at the previous Select Board meeting where you all made the changes. So that's what we're looking at now, and the report from the Planning Commission is good, so I think we're good to go. Keith, you want to add anything to that?
No, I would agree with this. This is basically a perfunctory meeting here. It is required to have a public hearing for the report only at this point. Obviously, you could take questions and public comment, and that's about my only addition.
Any questions or comments from the board?
I'll just say that I've had people buttonhole me on the street saying they're glad we gave this issue attention. And again, to thank Virginia and the whole team for an outstanding effort.
Thank you.
I agree.
Oh,
I have
sorry,
a
Brent.
concern that when I go onto your documents to look at the town report, I have to go through a link to get to this map. I don't understand why this map isn't on the printed version like the rest of the maps are. Is this map gonna change? Is this map's moving? Why isn't it in the printed document instead of being a link? I have concern with that. If I was looking at a printed document today, would I not have a map there? I would like to make sure that that map that we all talked about is the map that is gonna be in this document. At this point, going through the link, having to find Richmond and going into it, this is our document. This isn't the regional planning document, this is our document. I would like the select board make sure that that map is printed in our town plan, please, thank you.
I can address that if you wish.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable request, to have that's a major piece of supporting documentation for that town plan. So can we, while it may be of minimal use at the size it would be printed, physically printed in the town plan, I think it's important that it is printed. So we're locking in a map, not a link to a map.
Referencing that specific map.
Yeah.
Yep, that's fine. We'll get that executed before hopefully the end of this week.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we
Any
have
other-
been dependent on the Regional Planning Commission to print that map. They printed all the other maps. They have map specialists who put those documents together. So I don't know, Keith, have you heard from them as to whether that map is correctly printed now?
I have not received the PDF for it at this point. I will reach out again. I'll reach out first thing tomorrow one more time. I'm not sure why this is happening. I believe that it has to do with the 5 or 6 other town plans that are being produced right now. But we should be able to get some type of finality to this. This is not something I'm not aware of. I'm keenly aware of that. I talked to Marcy about this recently, and we'll get it squared away at one point. I can assure you that it will be the regional flu map 2.0 will be resized and re-nomenclatured to state the Richmond flu map for the 2026 town plan.
But we are referencing a link now because we have been unable to get a properly sized PDF map to insert, but that is the plan.
That is the map, and that is, yes.
Got it.
It's the best I
Thank
can
you.
do at this point. That's just the best I can do at this point.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? No. You would need to close the hearing.
Adam, this is David. Move to close the public hearing for the 2026 town plan update.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Also, motion in a second. All those in favor?
Art, aye.
Greg, aye.
David, aye.
Adam, aye. Now we can decide what to do.
So Adam, this is David. I move to approve the 4th draft of the 2026 town plan. Further, the select board directs the Richmond Planning Commission to forward what is now considered the final 2026 town plan draft to the Regional Planning Commission for consideration and adoption.
David, if I could, what's missing from that is perhaps a statement about the revised map showing up in the town
I
plan.
was wondering about that.
Maybe some phrase that includes, when it includes the
I wasn't sure what to call it.
CCRPC.
The amended future land use plan.
On page 54. If that's helpful.
Sorry, if that's a reasonable request for amending the initial motion.
Yeah,
How do we want to word that? What's the wording we're using?
have my pen ready.
Why don't you just say install the CCRCP regional flu map as the town of Richmond's flu map?
Version 2.0.
Okay.
Perfect.
Would we like to restate that motion? Someone restate it?
Yeah, I didn't write fast enough.
My opinion is
I don't know what we're restating, to be honest. That's why I'm asking.
That specific map,
To insert the map that is not currently inserted to create the final document.
Virginia referred to it as 2.0.
Yes.
So the motion would be to move to approve the fourth draft of the 2026 town plan. And
To include.
To include the CCRP regional
Future land use map.
future land use map as the Richmond future land.
future land use map 2.0.
Yes.
Mhm.
Great. We have a motion. We have a second.
I'll second that. This is Greg.
Okay.
Calling it to a vote.
Bart, aye.
Greg, aye.
David, I.
Caitlin, I.
Adam, aye. We have a town plan for town meeting day.
So I made the motion, I amended the motion, Greg seconded the amended motion, and we all voted in favor of it.
Thank you for your work on that document.
Yeah, thank you, Keith. Thank you, Virginia.
Thank you.
Is there any other members
Thank you.
here too? Chelsea, thank you. I think who else was here? Bunch of members of that committee, but
I'm very excited to see the town plan, the ballot. Congratulations.
next we have a public hearing to consider amendments to the traffic ordinance to increase the parking penalty on certain roads, add a waiver penalty, add a penalty schedule, add authority for the Richmond Community Officer to issue parking tickets, and to clarify parking ticket appeal processes.
Ms. Caitlin, I move to open the public hearing to consider amendments to the traffic ordinance.
This is David, I'll second.
All those in favor?
Bart, aye.
Greg, aye.
David, I.
Caitlin, I.
Adam, aye. The hearing is open. Do we want to, Josh, do you want to go over this or do you want, I have notes on it too. I can go over it if you like.
I can go over it, but there's one more motion to make to forego the reading of the entire ordinance, and then I can give a summary. It's fine.
Adam, this is David. I move to forego the reading of the entire ordinance allowed and to read only the title.
This is Bart, I will second that.
All those in favor?
Bart, aye.
Greg, aye.
David, I.
Caitlin,
Adam, nay. We should read it all aloud.
Yes. Doing that because it can. Okay, so
Go ahead, Josh. Give us a summary, please.
Sure. So I'll just skip down to the sections that are being changed in section 9. So in section 9, we're adding a judicial bureau penalty schedule. And it had been a reference in there. And when we had this up for legal review, they noted that that reference no longer really existed in the legal website. So we've added that now as an addendum here so we can set fees. The meat of this is to increase parking ticket penalties from $50 to $150 on certain roads. And I have a map. That's all detailed here on Cochran, Dugway, Duxbury, and West Whitehill. I think this map here helps to show that a little bit better. So it looks like we got Cochran Road, sort of the Jonesville end here for the most part. West Whitehill up to Robbins Mountain Road, Cochran all the way to Route 2 there, a little section of Duxbury Road, and then Dugway Road has highlighted the entire stretch of Dugway Road. The impetus for this change is the increase in recreational parking and inability to control where people are parking. So this would increase the fee from $50 to $150 on these roads with a $100 waiver penalty. So basically, if people pay their ticket within 30 days, they pay the $100 waiver penalty. If they go later or they want to contest it, then they would pay the full penalty. We also added a waiver penalty in for the regular $50 parking ticket, for $30 for the waiver penalty for that. It also adds authority for the Richmond Community Service Officer to issue parking tickets. One of the issues we've had is just having a number of law enforcement officers to respond to issue tickets. We talked about being able to authorize a non-law enforcement officer to write parking tickets. So that would be the Richmond Community Service Officer, and their sole job would be writing parking tickets in these recreational areas. So this would give that person that authority. And then there's some sections in section 10 that clarify some information about the waiver penalty and clarify some information about the appeal process. So that's a general overview of the changes that we're proposing for the ordinance at this time.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Greg?
Not necessarily related to the motion, but are there plans, or do we have the ability to post these fines at the entrances to these 4 named roads? Is there some way we can kind of forewarn people that the penalties are stiff? Because I've tried to go down Cochran's Road on a summer day and it gets pretty nutty.
Yeah.
Especially if it's hot, but I also know most of those people are coming from out of town.
And our goal here is not actually to make money, it's to gain compliance. And so posting signs and raising awareness would be our best method to actually gain compliance.
Maybe we can get one of those plug-in signs at the beginning of the season or something and just $150 fine. It's like the trucks that keep getting stuck in Smuggler's Notch.
Works so well for them.
Yeah, well, anyhow.
So,
part of the
no,
motion.
Greg, it's a good question. We talked about that with the traffic committee, who helped us put these amendments together. And they talked about, these red dots on the map symbolize where we'd have some signs that say, starting of increased increased parking fees, maybe even put the $150 number there just to let people know. But we also talked about putting some other signs along, especially these long stretches of Dugway Road, to let people know as they're driving down, if they miss the first sign, they see some others. And again, the idea, like Adam said, is for compliance. We really don't want to write a bunch of parking tickets. We just want people to park in a safe manner. So yes, we will sign it amply.
Thank you.
Any public comments or questions?
What's the blue dot?
Yeah, Josh, can you summarize what the blue and red dots are?
Oh, yeah. So the red dots are the sort of the start of the parking areas, and we were going to put some signs there that it was, so as you turn on Dugway Road, you'll see a sign that says, $150 parking fees for legally parked cars. I think we'll probably put a few more than that. And what's the blue dot for?
So that's the parking lot that exists, right?
Blue dot indicates an additional sign suggested by Chief Cohen. So we were already talking in the committee about some additional signs. So and this map, I'm sorry, it comes from the traffic committee. So I didn't know the blue dot immediately, but we'll put a couple more probably on Dugway Road to inform people of what's going on.
So there is already a signing plan. Great.
There is, yes.
Signage plan, I guess. We would need, if there's no other questions as a part of the hearing, we would need to close the hearing. We can choose to act.
This Bart, I move to close the public hearing to consider amendments to the traffic ordinance.
This is Greg, I second.
All those in favor?
Bart, aye.
Greg, aye.
David, aye.
Keelan, aye.
Adam, aye.
Adam, this Bart, I move to adopt the amendments to the traffic ordinance as presented.
Adam, this is David. I'll second.
Great. Just make a note that there's a hearing or a posting process for all this, so this wouldn't go into effect until April 18th. So,
Good time.
in time for some.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Bart, aye.
Greg, aye.
David, aye.
Keelan, aye.
Adam, aye. Next, we have consideration of approving a grant application to fund a roof replacement at the Richmond Free Library.
So I will turn this over to library. Oh, sorry, Laura's here.
They beat you to it. They're here.
Thanks, John. And Suzanne was on too, I think, on the call. So we are here to ask for approval of applying for a grant through the Vermont Department of Libraries with the long title of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Public Facilities Preservation Initiative Grants for Small Rural Public Libraries. I don't know how much you want me to go into or how much you guys read, because we did have an attachment with all the detail.
I read the attachment. Can you give us a brief overview though? Because anyone online or any of the other select board members weren't as studious as I was.
Yeah. So the Department of Libraries has about $9.6 million in this grant round. It was actually an earmark that Senator Leahy put in 2023. They're now getting around to actually offering it as a grant. They can be between $50,000 and $400,000. The grants are, well, what we are proposing is replacing the slate on the library roof. It's at 150 years old now. We've had a couple of different assessments that it should be replaced, starting back with, I think David was at the meeting with Headwaters back in 2015, where they first proposed replacing the roof within 5 to 10 years. And we're now at almost 15 years from that one. So anyway, we also have had some recommendations that we could repair sections of the roof. We did
Concerns with that.
with the, there were concerns in here. We did get an estimate for the two options from the person we've been working with on the library, Alex Tolstoy. And it was a difference between $265,000 for replacing the roof and $100,000 for repairing the roof, recognizing that then that would be every 5 years or so. We might have to go do that again.
They have to find the right color slate. They have.
Matching the slate color could be an issue. Yeah, the slate is, the roof has not failed per se. We don't have leaks. We don't have lots of slate falling off the roof. But it's also at the end, close to the end of its life. There's money available now, which is a lot of money. There's no guarantee we'll get the grant, but of course it's an opportunity. This seems tailor-made. It is a grant that's supposed to be, is designed to preserve public library buildings for the future. And the roof definitely comes within that purview. The application deadline is the 31st of March. We're supposed to be notified in summer. This is a reimbursement grant. There's no match required, but the town would have to outlay the funds and then submit the invoices and be reimbursed for the funding, not unlike FEMA, but hopefully faster than FEMA. They actually have the money in their bank account, so that's good.
We currently have roughly $300,000 in the town center building reserve.
I believe that's right, 340 or 350.
So, I mean, we have a ready resource if we were to get the grant.
Mhm.
Any expectation as to how long it would take them to reimburse us?
I don't, Suzanne, if you're on, I know there's an FAQ. I don't remember seeing anything about reimbursement schedule. It says upon presentation of invoices is, I think, what it says in there.
That seems like prompt turn.
We had to pay half up front for them to buy slate. We could submit the invoices.
Would this include the steeples as well?
No,
No. Okay.
but we have a lot of information from Jan Lewandowski that the steeple is in really good shape.
Nothing perches on.
Yeah.
Right off inside.
His point is, he went up inside the roof in 2015 and said that it's so steep that the water is not like really have an opportunity to he sees no indication inside the steeple that there's any problem.
Having bought slate roof, that seems like a great number, honestly, 200.
Yeah. I mean, we would have to go through a formal sealed bid process.
What are we replacing it with?
slate.
New slate.
Yeah,
Okay.
new
That's
slate.
150
actually
more years.
that's very competitive. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
comparative. I
Don't
mean,
walk on it.
pardon?
Just don't walk on it.
Walk on slate at my house, so.
Yeah, it's a blended slate, I think, and
We do, HUD does require, I mean, this is a federal grant. There are a number of requirements. The biggest one is that we're required to have an environmental and historic preservation review. I have been talking to VHB in South Burlington about doing the consulting work. When you go on the HUD website, it's almost impossible to figure out how you would get the review. VHB does this for huge housing projects all over the state. This would be a really small project for them. I got an estimate from them, and we can put that money in the grant. So we can actually get reimbursed for the review costs. It changes the number a little bit because I just got the real number from them. So their number is 6,000 instead of 5,000. It may be less than that if the state decides that the project is exempt, which is a category that they have. If they decide it's exempt, it might not be as arduous a project process because HUD usually respects the state's thing. So, yeah.
I curiously, just having replaced a slate roof that dates from 1885, I sort of feel the pain.
Yeah.
A question though about what I ran into partly because of Burlington building codes was a review of what insulation and is it underlayment underneath the roof is. So does it include, I suppose just taking off slate, putting other slate on, does it include?
That's what I put a contingency in there for. I don't know that there is any, and we don't really know what's
There's
under
probably
that.
not.
It's
And there's probably there's nothing underneath the slate either.
18-foot boards
Yeah.
under there, I'm guessing, is
So,
what the underlayment is.
I would
I'm
be
surprised
shocked if
there's
it
no
didn't
leak.
include a new if the price didn't include an underlayment. But I would also be shocked if it did include anything with insulation, investigation or mitigate, upgrade.
I just raised the
I
point because
can
when the
raise the-
roof is off,
I
it
can
might
raise
be
that
worth
back.
considering. I don't know what the access is to the attic or
There's a,
the under
I'm not
part of
even
it.
familiar with what that kind of structure looks like up there. If it's,
I defer to you.
well, you'd have to take care because some of these things were designed with long spans and small members
yeah,
because they were assuming everything would melt off the roof. But if you're going to get a preservation report, they should be able to assess that issue.
Oh, cool.
I mean, to be honest, with the old slate roofs, sort of copper ridges and valleys, and usually tar paper is kind of
it's kind of the gold standard still. Yeah.
yeah. But I know they just redid another roof over at the Vermont VYCC on Route 2. They just did one, and they had a synthetic underlayment like shark skin or something on there. And
Yeah.
Okay, I can check
You won't know
that.
the right answer for 150 more years.
I won't be on the board the next time you replace it.
Let's see if there's anything else.
So do we need to just approve the grant application or do we need to approve the grant application and
We
authorize
need to
a signatory? I guess that's a Josh question.
be accepting the grant because the library is not a separate 501c3, so.
Josh, do we need to just approve the grant application or do we need to authorize you to sign for it too?
I think you have to authorize him.
Josh may step.
We can.
Sorry,
we can-
were you talking to me? I had to step away for a real quick second. What was the question?
Sorry, I caught you right when you said, do we need to authorize this grant application or do we need to authorize the grant application accept it and authorize you to sign, or how does that work?
I think if you just authorize the approval of submitting the grant application, you're good, and then you can sign the letter of recommendation, and the library can submit the grant application, and there's no acceptance until we get the actual grant, so you're fine. You don't need to
Got it.
authorize me. I think it'll be fine.
So we need to do that later if we are lucky enough to be awarded
So Adam, this is Bart. I move to approve the grant application, U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Public Facilities Preservation Initiative grants for small rural public libraries. Great title. For funding to replace the roof of the Richmond Free Library.
Adam, this is David. I'll second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Bart, aye.
Greg, aye.
David, aye.
Caitlin, I.
Adam, I.
Good get.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Sorry
Thanks
to
for
jump in here. This is Suzanne at the library. Did
All right, Suzanne.
Josh, do you have that letter of support to work on for the board? I don't.
Yep, I've already given it to them in their packet, and Duncan has it in person there in the meeting, and he'll have Adam sign it, and we'll have it for you tomorrow.
Beautiful. I wasn't sure if that had to be part of this whole voting approval thing. We're good.
I think we're going to be good because they approved it, so we should be. The letter basically just says that they approved it, and we're moving forward. So we were good. Thank you.
Great. Next, we have consideration of approving a request from Project Altogether Now for $3,000 from the Community Wellbeing budget line. Do we have someone from Altogether Now here? I think we do.
Oh, we did. Yeah, we do.
Oh. We have Gabby. Gabby? Oh,
Yeah, I wasn't
Stephanie's-
sure who was going to take it. We also have Ella here, who's one of our interns, so I was going to let her jump on if she's comfortable.
Sure.
Yeah, either way.
Oh, go ahead, Ella. Can you give us a quick rundown of what you're looking to use the money for? We received the info in the packet, but for anyone that's in the public that didn't have a chance to review that, just give us a quick synopsis.
Of course, yeah. So we host screenings of different films. We host events to build connection within the community. Anything that we think would help youth with their mental health and also break the stigma around mental illness. And the things that we do, the events that we hold, come from forms that we send out to youth in the community through the school, and they give feedback on what they feel like they need resources for. So the money will go to getting those resources and allocating them. And we also do have stipends for youth interns to compensate them for their work. So that would be my explanation. I don't know if Gabby wants to add anything.
Any board members have any more specific questions?
Do you have active programming in Richmond, or is this a countywide endeavor, or?
It's throughout it's throughout like the Mount Mansfield School District, but we do have like specific events in really all of the towns depending on the time. So we recently hosted a Gone Guys screening, which is a film about men's mental health, and that was at the Richmond Library. So we also do have things going on in other towns though. So
Thank you.
We have several interns from the town of Richmond as well.
Great. Any questions from the community? Any more board questions, comments? What would we like to do?
So Caitlin, I move to approve the request by Project Altogether Now for $3,000 from the Community Wellbeing budget line.
Adam, this is David. I'll second.
We have a motion, a second. All those in favor?
Bart, aye.
Greg, aye.
David, aye.
Caitlin, I.
Adam, aye. Thank you, Ella. Thank you, Gabby.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have consideration of approving a request to use funds from the Conservation Reserve Fund for a public wildlife education event focusing on the negative impacts of rodenticide. Do we have someone from the? Do we have someone who wants to speak to this? I forget who was in the packet. Oh, Bob, go ahead.
Hello, folks. So my name is Bob Galvin. I serve on the Bolton Conservation Commission, and I am here this evening requesting $400 from the Richmond Conservation Reserve Fund. A couple of local conservation commissions have been interested in hosting kind of a cross-town event to just, bring together people around conservation and wildlife related issues. A few months ago, I attended a presentation put on by the Greensboro Conservation Commission, where they brought in someone from the Vermont Institute of Natural Sciences to talk about some of the negative implications of rodenticide use on wildlife. And I thought it was a great event. Vince did an incredible job. And so, I was very excited to be a part of coordinating this proposed event. So the Bolton Conservation Commission has chipped in $177.50. The Huntington Conservation Commission has chipped in $100. And then the remaining $400 is being requested from the Richmond Conservation Reserve Fund. One question that I think is a very good question and worthwhile to ask, kind of why is the request from Richmond greater than the other towns based on the populations of Richmond compared to Huntington and Bolton? We thought that was an appropriate ask. Let's see, anything else? This addresses several criteria for the Conservation Reserve Fund. I think it will be a great opportunity to bring people interested in wildlife, and particularly because there will be live birds, that just, I think, has a bigger draw and will hopefully be a springboard for more conversations around conservation issues in the kind of network of surrounding towns to Richmond. So that's a brief overview, and I'd be happy to answer any specific questions that folks have.
This part, I have a comment more than a question. First, I like your brief but thorough document. I also really appreciate that you're talking about wildlife safe alternatives, because the idea of not just what I don't want you to do, but what I do want you to do is a really useful approach, I think. So thanks for that.
I guess the one question I had is, do you have any idea about timing or location? I see that it's Richmond Free Library. What's the timing?
So we were hoping that early March roughly would be the time of the event. There's just been some slowness on the part of RCC. So somewhere between March and April would be the desired event time. And if folks on the select board have feedback or suggestions of what would be a better time, I'm all ears. I want this to be a successful event.
This is Bart. I'd just say before the fall, when the rodents tend to come into your house. But I also like the comment in the chat. Will you be able to record this and make it available to people who are not able to attend?
That is definitely the goal. Yes.
Awesome.
And it's not 100%, but that is definitely the goal, and we are going to push to have the event recorded for future access.
Great. What would the board like to do?
I move to, this is Greg. Adam, I move to approve the use of $400 from the Conservation Reserve Fund for a public wildlife education event focused on the negative impacts of rodenticide.
This is David. I'll second.
All those in favor?
Art, aye.
Greg, aye.
David, aye.
Caitlin, aye.
Adam, aye. Thank you, Bob. Appreciate the work.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Looking forward to this event.
Next, we have consideration of approving the Richards Ride bike ride, which includes closing Cochran Road from Cochran's ski area to Dugway Road from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturday, May 16th.
Hi, I'm Karen Ward. I'm with the Richard Tom Foundation. I think this is my 6th year here.
Welcome back.
Asking for the same, but it's great to see you all. And it's so cool to see Ella Lavoie. She's was well-spoken at school. The big thing is that our organization is growing, which is really great. We've had 30+ events. We're really working with community, joy, and adventure is really like our big theme. And some of the events are biking events, but we've also been involved with a little bit when Bern Brody called us and said, hey, we've got these cool trails we want to build that are for adaptive riders. And we jumped on board and helped out with that and gave some money there. We've been involved with the Kelly Brush Foundation, Little Bellas. We've had over 200 bikes donated. So we swoop up those bikes that are free on the side of the road, fix them up and get them to kids with helmets. We always make sure they get a new helmet and we do a fit check. We've recently been coming around where now some of the kids are bringing the bikes back to us and we are giving them the bigger size. So that feels really great. We have one bike that's been through 4 kids already.
Nice.
And we have one kid who's coming back for his second bike and his 3rd year at summer camp. Another program that the RTF supports is the Spectrum Youth Foundation. That's in Burlington, and they teach the kids bike skills, but they also teach them like, you need to show up on time. You need to have these personal skills. You need to know how to manage your time. And it's just such a good program, and it's all based out of bikes. So this year we're doing the same thing again, right out of Cochran. We love the space. It works really well. Everyone enjoys it. The Richmond Rescue will come again and they do a CPR skills training. It's not certification in CPR, but it just gets everyone familiar with it. Kelly Brush will be there again, sharing some of their adaptive bikes to instruct children. And we need the road closed because the river trail is not as reliable as it used to be since we've been having the consistent flooding. We've already helped out with Richmond Mountain Trails, rebuilding one of the bridges. I didn't do any of the building, so it's a very safe bridge. I just carried stuff. And so that bridge is safe and the next one is safe, but we say that now, and I don't know what's going to happen with all the snow that melts. So we tend to kind of weave in and out of the trail back onto the road, and then there's a long portion where we are on the road. They just get down to where Doug Ray rolls in and have some snacks, celebration station, we ring some cowbells, and then they ride the road back. Most of them are pretty wiped out at that point. Ella Lavoie, who participated earlier, she did it at like age 6. It's really cool to see her now as an adult. So we've had a lot of positive feedback, and we're hoping to do that again with your permission.
Awesome. This is Caitlin. I move to approve the closure of Cochran's Road from Cochran Ski Area to Dugway Road from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturday, May 16th, 2026 for the children's bike ride portion of the Richards Ride event.
Yeah, this is David. I'll second.
All those in favor?
Bart, aye.
Greg, aye. David, aye.
Caitlin, I.
Adam, aye. Great. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hopefully the trail.
See you there.
Next, we have review of a request for an easement for an existing wastewater line that serves 10 East Main Street, but runs under the municipal parking lot at 27 Bridge Street, and to an existing concrete pad for dumpsters at 10 East Main Street that is partially on the 27 Bridge Street property. Hey, how are you?
Hey, great.
Yeah, so I talked to Josh about this. Do you want to give us a summary? It sounds like this all predates you owning the building by many decades, right?
Yeah, so for sure. Just by way of introduction, my name is Ben Kinnaman. I'm the property owner. I'm also the CEO of the business inside of the building. Those are 2 separate entities, though, and that I put a letter to Josh. I think all of you got it in the data packet. Yeah, so the summary is that we have some title objections against the property. One of them is related to the lack of easement on our sewer line that exits the building, and we've positively located it, but it runs under a portion of the town property, which is municipal parking lot. And then when we bought the building, there was the dumpsters on the back of the building sit on a concrete pad. I was aware when we bought the building that there was an agreement with the town on putting that there. Anyway, we need to clean this up so that we can get a marketable title on the property. And so we're requesting an easement that for our benefit from the town that encompasses our sewer line and that dumpster pad. The dumpster pad, just for reference, comes over into the town's parking lot by maybe 3 feet, maybe 2.5 feet, something like that.
Great. Is there any questions?
I have really peripheral question. This sewer line or wastewater line is pretty funky. And my question is, anybody know where it goes? Ultimately.
Yeah, so definitely. So a few years ago, our neighbor, John Giroux in 24 East Main Street. So this sewer line, our sewer line used to go into John Giroux's backyard, connect to his line, and then go south out of his property across Zachary's property. I'm not sure what happened after that. We rerouted everything to Route 2 a few years ago. So you can see this little manhole cover. That's right. That line.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Goes out of John's property, loops around. If you come down the page from where, that manhole cover. So the sewer line now comes out of John's property to that manhole and then goes north up to Route 2 and ties in. Our line comes out and meanders on this crazy little path and then connects to that manhole and then goes out to Route 2.
Was that done when Route 2 was redone, repaved?
It was done just prior.
Yeah.
Yes.
I remember that. So we wanted that all cleaned up before the East Main Street.
That's right.
Redoing.
The plan as presented doesn't describe an easement. How much town land are you looking for? Just enough to encompass the line, or?
Right. So we're asking, so we have a draft easement doc written, and what we're here today to make sure that we understand any potential considerations or conditions from the select board. But what we're asking is a 10-foot corridor on top of that sewer line, which would encompass our dumpster pad by default.
I guess my only concern is that we have this oddly meandering sewer line and we give you a permanent easement for that, and then it keeps getting put back in that same meandering thing. So I guess my question is, if we give you an easement for that line as it exists, but if there were ever to be required excavation to repair it, would it be acceptable that as part of that easement, it would require the line to be rerouted in a straighter, more direct, succinct fashion?
I'm perfectly fine with that, because any rational,
as long as it keeps working, it's fine. But if you got to dig it all up, then let's fix it and make it straight across one property line and not do this whole jogging thing.
Yeah, 100%. Any rational reconstruction would come out. So keeping it where it exits the building is easiest for us.
Yeah.
But then it would just shoot basically right across our shared property line.
Yeah.
And then tie in.
Yeah.
The why to that way predates us.
That looks random.
The actual site plan, we just located this last week. The site plan that we had showed it coming out of our building and running at a 45-degree angle south across the town property, from what I understand, under the old fire station that was there, perhaps, and that's where it potentially tied in about that direction. But we had it positively located. We cited it with P&P. We had the surveyors out to cite the pins on the property map. So what you see now is, I would say, as accurate as we can get.
Which I think is
digging it up and cite that.
So I suspect the building and the initial sewer line way predated the municipal septic system. So then it was connected to the best way to get to the municipal septic system, which was tying onto the neighbor's line. And then 2014-15, East Main Street was redone. So it was then moved to tie in there. So it's been cobbled and patched and
yeah. We want you to be able to have it cleaned up. I would say we don't want to obstruct it at all. And I would suspect that you have a right to access this sewer line anyway, because that's how it works. So let's formalize it.
Yeah.
Does the board have any concerns? Do you want to go into executive session to discuss this? I mean, I don't personally see any reason to, but.
I just would have two comments of my own. One would be that I would hope in doing this, that we don't end up reducing the amount of available parking somehow.
Okay.
That, you know, as long as it continues to sort of be below the surface, great. The other one's probably maybe less business and more sort of rah-rah. I'm just very glad that you're here in Richmond.
It's awesome to hear.
I think it's super cool that we have a tech business with such an interesting profile, and I would really hope that if you know, if we can give you that encouragement, that you're not trying to clean this up just so you can leave.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Actually, quite the opposite. Our company's growing pretty significantly, and our headquarters remain here in Richmond, but our large, you know, we have offices in Boston and San Diego and all over the place now. We have over 100 employees, but our headquarters are here. Because of our growth, my wife and I need to separate ourselves from the position of being landlords and the position of being the CEO of the company.
Yeah, that's understandable, yeah.
And so we will likely divest of the property, but we have Green Sea Systems, the business in the property, has a 10-year lease with an option to renew at the end of it. So the business isn't going anywhere. We just probably need to divest of the property itself.
Just very glad you're here in town and want to do anything we can to encourage you.
Yeah.
Agreed on both fronts. So picking up on the first one is just to make sure, however, the easement language emerges, that it doesn't interfere with parking.
Yeah.
I would say it doesn't interfere with parking in any permanent sense. I think we all understand that when this inevitably needs to get replaced, it'll temporarily interfere with parking. But that's necessary.
Yeah.
Do we have, I mean, seriously, do we have any sense of the vintage? Because what you described makes it sound like it went to a pipe that went into the river.
I imagine the part coming out of the building's either cast iron or clay tile.
Josh, do you have a comment, question? Probably a comment.
Not on the vintage of the line. I just wanted to ask the board before we move forward and ask Ben to come back with a easement. Do you want to put any consideration there for attorney fees incurred by the town?
Good question.
There would be a transfer.
Is it reasonable? Yeah. Is it amenable to you if we have you cover our attorney's fees?
Of course, no problem.
So I don't think we're willing to give you the easement for free as long as it doesn't cost us anything. Is that reasonable?
That's great. Yeah, of course. I'm here tonight just to make sure we all have a clear understanding so that we have a path forward through this. And yeah, so that totally fine with that.
Perfect.
So you'll formalize an actual easement on the map that we're accepting, and then
we are. And then I believe at the next meeting, we'll be back here to accept that formal easement where we plan to, it's drafted now. We just need to understand the conditions. We'll put it forward. Let the town attorney review it. I believe we'll be back here at the next meeting to approve
Yeah, so I guess
it. And
what we would want in it is some language to, I guess, Josh, I don't know how this works. Can you talk to the attorney? But we want to guarantee that there's parking allowed over it, short of any construction activities. And then also that just some language about covering our attorney's fees.
Yeah, I can add that in, and we also can add in the idea about if there's any excavation, it triggers a straightening of the line. And we'll add those three items in.
I would say it triggers installation of the line to current construction standards, or however you want to word that.
Yeah.
That's a good one,
yeah. Okay, so we don't have anything to vote on, but yeah, work with Josh, and I think we're all on board with this. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for sticking around.
We'll put you at the end next time.
Flavor, that's awesome.
We got to pretend like we have a real audience. So
this is a boring one. I had a project in Richmond, in Burlington, where we went out to the street to tie into the water line, and the water lines were still made out of wood.
I think that happened in Richmond too, right?
When they did the
that,
East
there
Bay
were-
reconstruction, we found the old wooden water lines.
Do some research while we were talking about if there's anything like kind of the water line, and all I found was that building used to be a grocery store.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
I've gone there. Is it this? In the liquor store.
That's why it's the corner market.
On the old hotel doors.
Oh.
Hanging upstairs.
Cool.
Really interesting. Also in Burlington, I actually went by some excavation replacing a pipe. There was a brick pipe. It-
Super common, yeah.
Like, and it was big. With,
Well, it was like a brick funnel.
basically, but it was basically round, you
It was
know.
way off topic, but we think our water line and sewer line replacements are bad, but the Burlington one, you know, there's like all these talk of cost overruns, but I was talking to someone who was a foreman on that, and he was saying like they were digging and it was so far down, they couldn't do any geotech to figure out what it was, and they were digging and they would find like wooden lines that were chinked in with lead rope and rope.
Jesus.
So someone had redone it and put like tile lines to wood to tile, so they'd redone it. And they had this high reach excavator. They were like 24 or 25 feet down in the ground doing that. So someone had done that 24 or 25 feet down with like shovels and horses.
Yeah.
Well,
So the
it's
cost
possible
overruns are
also
understandable.
a lot of Burlington was filled.
Yeah.
There used to be sort of a ravine.
Yeah, that's
that
not
went
too
through
far.
that.
They're saying from the timing that with the tile lines though, that like it definitely happened after a lot of the fill went in. So someone came in and replaced pieces of the wooden line with.
They weren't gonna rip it off.
How'd they notice?
I think ours is bad.
We'll just make it work.
Yeah.
And quickly bury it.
Exactly. Next we have an update on an agreement
Thank you.
on an engineering for the Southview 3-acre permit. Josh, can you give us an update? Have you talked to Andres?
Yeah, it's a pretty quick update. I checked in with him. I'm getting an echo, sorry. I initially, at the last meeting, gave the update, excuse me, that he was going to give us a new scope of work to get us to the NOI. I checked in with him early last week to ask him, when can I see that scope of work? He said he'd get to me by the end of last week. Haven't seen anything yet, so I'll check in with him again tomorrow. But I'm pretty comfortable from my conversations with him over the past couple of weeks that it's on his radar. He knows we want to get it submitted here by the summer or sooner if possible. And I think we are going to have a meeting next week with the state. I saw an email today that I got to digest a little bit more, but they were looking for a check-in. So I'll keep those balls in the air and those projects moving.
Yeah, that was gonna be my comment, is I think we both got the email from, I think it was Daniel. And he just wanted to check in on our progress. It sounds like he wants to check in on the progress and what steps we are taking to get towards submitting an NOI. And, the next critical piece is obviously Andres giving us a scope of work so we can potentially enter into an agreement to do that. So if you could reiterate to Andres that we kind of need that to keep the state happy too. We understand the timeline shift, but we do need him to help us out a little bit, please.
I will stress that to him tomorrow.
Great. Thank you. Next, you have consideration of approval of liquor licenses and an outside consumption permit for Sweet Simone's. Sweet Simone's is applying for a first and third class license and an outside consumption permit. So a first class license is a license to serve beer and wine on site, and a third class license is to serve spirits on site. And an outside consumption permit would permit them to allow that consumption on the sidewalk.
Mr. Chair, this is David. I move to approve first and third class liquor licenses and an outside consumption permit for Sweet Simone's LLC.
This is Bart. I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Bart, aye.
Greg, aye.
David, aye.
Caitlin, I.
Adam, aye. Here.
Is that motion? No.
So next we have an update on Chittenden County Regional Planning Commission's Municipal Elected Official Forum on 3/30/2026. So this is the same forum that Caitlin and I attended last time. Thought it was fruitful. It was kind of a more, I wouldn't say more casual. That makes it sound like it was just a kind of a casual, frank discussion between members of different boards and different government officials kind of at the municipal level in Chittenden County. Just talking about the challenges and problems and also the actions we're taking that are fruitful and working and what things are helping in town and all that. was great. They gave us cheap pizza
That's how they roll.
And salad
and cheap salad,
candy.
candy.
Great conversation.
I'm gonna be traveling that week, so I wouldn't be able to attend, but
I mean, if there's no one else that would like to go, I'd like to go again. I enjoyed it, but I also would encourage anyone else that wants to go to take the time to go.
This is Bart. I think it makes sense for the chair and vice chair to attend. I think one of the sort of unwritten goals behind this was to foster relationships between towns in terms of intermunicipal and regional sort of collaboration. So it's sort of, in a sense, relationship building, perhaps.
Do you know what time
I
it's at?
would just point out that on 3/30/2026, there will be a chair and a vice chair, and it might not necessarily be Caitlin.
Well, you never know.
I will tentatively plan on going, but more than willingly
Do we know what
hand over the reins.
it is? Yeah.
I think it's at the same time. Josh, you know what time it is? It's the same 6 o'clock time or whatever.
Yeah, 6
Looking
to
it
8.
up.
6 to
There you
8.
go.
In the back, yeah. So
That
30
was
is.
my daughter's birthday. And
Ooh,
so
that's a good
I don't
reason to
think
not
I can
go.
Go this time. I would love to go next time. I was gonna say if it's after bedtime, I could attempt, but
That could be a maybe.
Well, I think we have plenty of time, so if everyone wants to check there.
Yeah.
You got to register by the 23rd of March. So you got 2 meetings.
It's the 23rd. That's right. It's coming right up in a month. Okay.
Well, to that point, Adam, perhaps we should schedule after,
Second,
yeah,
would it be our
Mhm.
March 2nd? So our March 19th meeting? I think it's the March
which would
19th.
be after town meeting and before the deadline, right?
Yeah. Josh, can you remind us to put this on after we do our elections? Great. Thank you.
Gotcha. We'll put it on March 16th.
Next, we have filing of a rule with the select board to prevent the abuse of highways from November 15th to May 15th on the following year. So I'm assuming this is about posting the roads, is that?
Yes.
That is exactly what it is. They phrase it as abuse of highways. But basically, it's just a rule that the V-Trans puts out every year, and you're supposed to file it with the select board. And then Pete will go out and post the roads as soon as it's appropriate and mud season is upon us. So there's really no action, just sort of an acknowledgement that we're notifying the select board. We'll post in the public places tomorrow and be ready to go for mud season.
I don't remember this. I'm sure we did this last year, and I don't remember the wording being so awkward. I feel like that would have stuck with me.
I'm trying to be more specific in my agenda items.
Funny story, I had to roll the truck down to Lebanon. So I'm driving down the interstate, the truck's just bouncing all over the road. Then I drove back to Barry and I was driving through South Barry on 302. And the truck's just bouncing all over the road and I'm avoiding all these potholes. And then I went up through Graniteville by the quarries and Rock of Ages and everything. I'm driving along and it was just as smooth as this could be. And I'm like, then I realized that it's literally the pavement on top of the granite. It's so smooth.
No frosties.
For a couple miles, it was just so smooth.
Well, Snipe Island Road gets pretty woolly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
Next we have approval of minutes.
No, that's at 9:40 and it's only 9:08.
Oh,
Set a timer.
this is Bart motion to approve the minutes of 2/2/26, special meeting on 2/7/26, and special meeting for public informational meeting on 2/7/26 inclusively.
This is David, I'll second.
I'm gonna abstain because I wasn't here for at least one of those. Is there other members who will be doing that? As long as we got 3 of us to approve them. All those in favor?
Bart, aye.
Greg, aye. David, aye.
Caitlin, I.
Adam abstain. We don't have any warrants today, do we? Do we have warrants, Josh?
Yeah.
You've got
2 purchase
six-
orders.
six-
Or no, you got
6 purchase orders
6
and a
purchase.
couple of warrants.
Glad I didn't print those out.
So Adam, this is Bart. I move to approve purchase order number 5185 to Allegiance Trucks for the purchase of a tandem axle truck in the amount of $194,763.
This is the truck minus the dump body and plow, right?
And install.
So.
Right, the next PO is for the dump body and plow that will go with the truck.
Wow. Wow.
Gotten expensive, huh?
Yeah.
It's all, nothing's getting less expensive.
So Allegiance trucks, that used to be Clark's truck?
Yeah.
That is correct.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Now we can discuss or vote. All those in favor?
All right.
Greg, aye. David, aye.
Caitlin, I.
Adam, I.
Adam, I'd like to move to approve purchase order number 5186 to Viking Civies Vibes for the purchase of a dump body and plow package in the amount of $109,000.
This is Caleb.
What's a Sives?
Sieves?
Civies.
Hopefully it's not a sieve. You want to hold the sand.
This is the main plow, the wing plow, the lights. Yep.
That doesn't seem
Dump body.
ridiculous as I would have imagined for all that, honestly. With the plow and the wing plow all installed.
And the dump body as well, so.
Yeah. All those in favor?
All right.
Greg, aye.
Aye, aye.
David, aye.
Caitlin, I.
Adam, I.
I'd also note that the plow package could take up to 18 months to be ready.
Yeah, the lead time on these larger pieces of equipment are getting longer and longer between highway and fire, as you'll notice.
So we're not committed to trading in a truck until this one's ready to hop on the road?
Absolutely, yeah. We won't receive this one until we get until we get the plow package and the body put on top of it. Then we'll receive it and then we'll trade in the current truck.
Perfect.
And this one is for, this is the FY26. So I think the truck's going to be ready here shortly, probably within the next month or so, but then it needs to go to the next step to get the plow body and the dump package, and then we'll receive it hopefully, November or December or January. But we will have the current truck to plow any snow that happens in next winter.
We have two more purchase orders.
Yeah, moving on. Adam, I move to approve purchase order number 5187 to R.R. Charlevoix for the purchase of a single axle truck in the amount of $152,419.
Second that. This is Greg.
All those in favor?
Art, aye.
Greg, aye.
David, aye.
Caitlin,
Adam, I.
Adam, I'd like to move to approve purchase order number 5188 to Viking for the purchase of a dump body and plow package in the amount of $112,800.
Adam, this is Greg. I second that motion.
All those in favor?
Art, aye.
Greg, aye.
David, aye.
Caitlin, I.
Adam, I. Now we have a fire truck purchase order, which is definitely more expensive than even.
Not by much.
I don't know.
But when you add it all up, yeah.
Adam, Art, I move to amend purchase order number 5299 to Toyne Incorporated to the amount of $470,621.68.
And this is specifically for the ladder rack?
This is for
This is
the,
specifically to add,
this is the amended PO, including the ladder rack, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
correct. The ladder rack is an additional 2,800.
So this will be, well, it's not done yet, but this will finish. This is not the last installment on this truck, is it? Or last, or is it?
This is the total price, yeah. So we just need to get I think we already cut the check a couple meetings ago, and then I believe it's actually been delivered to New York. They'll install the ladder rack, and then our guys will go down, pick it up, and bring it back. So it's probably a couple weeks away. We're getting close.
Oh, yeah, I thought it was
that close.
Yeah.
And I think that I'm just reading the notes here. Important to note that this is replacing
Rescue truck.
2 trucks essentially, yeah. So this does still bring us down a truck. And we're adding the ladder rack on, that's why we're amending this, and that is to do that, to replace 2 trucks instead of just one.
Were there no insurance proceeds for the demolition of engine number 1?
Oh, there were.
They were minimal.
Okay.
I mean, I forget the order of magnitude, but like tens of thousands of dollars,
Really?
low tens.
I think it was.
What was that? Or was
I
it more
think
than
it was more. I think it was more
Maybe
than
it
that.
was-
I'd have
maybe it
to
was a
look
sale
back
price.
though.
I thought it was like $44,000 or something ridiculously low. 132,000. Thank you, Chelsea. I was way off base.
Yeah, I thought it was.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
thought it was a little more than
depreciated.
that.
Yeah.
This is Caitlin, I moved to amend.
Oh, was that was the act? Was that
Guesstimate.
Chelsea? Was that an actual number or guestimate? Okay, I don't want to
Guesstimate.
state it as fact.
I thought it
Okay,
was
that
like
was a guess.
110, 120,
Okay.
but she might be right.
We don't know the exact number, but people are guessing around $100,000 and change.
This is Caitlin. I moved to amend purchase order number 5299 for Touring Inc. to the amount of $470,621.
This is David, I'll second.
All those in favor?
Bart, aye.
Greg, aye.
David, aye.
Caitlin, I.
Adam, aye. One more for the audit.
Is this for both audits, by the way? Is this for we got one for the Water and Sewer Commission and we got one for the town.
That's a good
finance.
question.
Yeah, so what we end up doing is the town
That's great.
pays for the full amount of it, and then water and sewer, we charge them for a third of the audit.
That's the breakout. Okay, I see.
Well, no, so this actually, we didn't break it out on this PO. This is the 23,325 is what's due right now, and then there's a balance of 7,775 due later. So the total for the FY26 audit will be $31,000. About a third of that we'll charge to water and sewer when the actual when we kind of tie up the bills at the end. And this does, I think this includes the single audit as well, because I think we're going to probably need one of those as well. We bid this out a couple of years ago and asked for 3 years of pricing. So this is I think our second of 3 years. And they're asking for a little bit more down right now. There's been some changes in the accounting guidelines. So it puts a lot of the work sort of like closer to the end of the fiscal year and at the beginning of the next fiscal year. So they want to, since they're going to be doing more work earlier on, they're asking for a little bit higher retainer.
My question, this is Bart, is how do we resolve the water sewer share? Is this just the town share? Or is this?
That's everything, but
No.
we'll break out water sewer.
We do that internally.
Since I mean,
I
that
think
that
you
would
need
make
the water sewer commission to approve their share.
Seven,
Or
seven.
parse it out.
Yeah, I can add that to the next water sewer commission meeting. And certainly put that on that PO. I think you're right. We usually do write in a line for water and sewer to approve that. Unfortunately, right now, time is a little bit of the essence to get these guys a check to keep them moving for FY26. And so if we could do that tonight, and then I'll make sure we true it up with water sewer next week.
Okay, this is Bart. I move to approve purchase order number 5303 to RHR for the FY26 in the amount of $31,100 to be reduced by a future contribution from the water sewer system.
This is David, I'll second.
sense. All those in favor?
Bart, aye.
Greg, aye.
David, aye.
Caitlin, I.
Adam, aye.
Just a note here, the price was $132,950, so Chelsea was very.
Good job, Chelsea.
Wow.
It was very good for a guesstimate. You should get into estimating.
That was closer than my recollection.
Better than mine. I was at like 44,000, so.
I hear nobody misses that truck.
This is Caitlin. I move to approve the warrants.
This is David, I'll second.
All those in favor?
Bart, aye.
Greg, aye.
David, aye.
Caitlin, I.
Adam, aye. Next, we have any items, what do we need for the next agenda? What are we thinking? Gonna have an easement, hopefully.
What is the date of our next meeting? That's a great question.
It will be March
Monday-
2nd, day
Monday
before town meeting.
So probably some town meeting
I have
conversation.
looked at the ballot and it is unfortunate to say that unless 0 people vote for 3 of us, the board makeup will be the same next year because we are all running unopposed.
Stranger things could happen.
So there's no real true lame duck decisions that we can make on the 2nd.
Yeah.
Well, then I make a motion that
So we have, since we have on the 2nd, is there there's no town meeting prep stuff we need to do on that day, right?
The only thing I wanted to talk about was this Board of Civil Authority reached out to the Secretary of State's office regarding the motion condemning Israel. And Marshall Paulson got a response from them. And I don't know if we want.
Would you be comfortable sharing that? Did he send that to us? Was that in the packet? I didn't.
I'm perfectly comfortable. I mean, the Board of Civil Authority is. This is what they wrote back. Thank you for participating in the voter registration drive. It's your question about the citizen petition in Richmond. I double checked, and my understanding of the statutes around citizen petitions for inclusion in the town warning. It is up to the discretion of the select board whether and how to include this type of non-binding article in a town meeting warning. They could decide to include it all, or they could edit the question, or they could include it word for word. This is the power of the select board. There's no further obligation for the petitioners to do anything further. I got it redundant. But if they wish to speak to the original article or the edited article or their feelings about either issue, they should show up at town meeting, engage in the discussion. This came from Sarah Copeland Hans's, who works for the Secretary of State's office. And I think the only germane part of this is that simply changing the letter didn't invalidate the petition.
I think we were aware of that at the time, that was my understanding. It's the select board's sole discretion about what to do with it.
Yeah, and I only bring it up because I think that's going to come up.
Undoubtedly, right.
And so just so we have a prepared answer for it,
an official answer, if you will.
Or at least a thoughtful, articulate answer.
Independent answer.
Yeah. I also reached out to the Secretary of State's office. I think just Marshall heard back from him first. And just that.
Notice we have something in the chat too, so.
Oh yeah, the
Josh
question
has got
about.
his hand up also.
Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, Greg, to your point, I got the same answer from our attorney in VLCT about how that came onto the agenda and what the select board did with the wording of the petition in the article. I've also been in touch with town moderator Clint Buxton. He's very well versed on this as well, and I think will be a good asset on town meeting day to help describe and explain it to the voters.
Yeah.
If we don't have, let's talk to Steve.
Yeah, I got a question from Steve about when will we be discussing the intersection of Cochran, Thompson, Huntington, and Bridge Street? And I guess the short answer is we've already discussed that about a couple months ago. We didn't have a plan to discuss it again immediately until we had got more information.
So I was just going to add, so having made the decision, we're on track for the stop signs at that intersection. That said, if I understand there's petition that would ask us to perhaps take a different course, and if we received a petition, depending on how it plays out, we would then at least discuss it.
That would necessitate a discussion.
Yeah.
Chelsea has her hand.
Chelsea, go ahead.
Hi, yeah, this has nothing to do with the intersection. I was just gonna ask if anyone on the board or Josh or Duncan, really anybody, has any thoughts on the intersection, or if there's any thoughts on the intersection, or if there's any thoughts on the intersection.
Well, I
resources, or are there resources on the town website about sort of how town meeting runs? This is actually a couple of meetings ago what I was going to bring up to actually ask. And the reason I bring it up now is this kind of germane to this topic of the discussion about the Israel-Palestine item on the warning, and sort of the suggestion that people talk about it at town meeting and come and, you know, have your voice be heard. And I just wanted to ask this, and I was going to bring it up then, because town meeting is like overwhelming and confusing if you don't know how it works. And like moving things to the floor and then calling the question, like that, even now I have a hard time understanding what's going on. And just a thought, like if there's something that's a resource that you guys would suggest, or Josh or Duncan, or maybe even our moderator, if you guys have resources that you could share, I would love that.
I think the moderator's note to us, I mean, we could just make that public, but
Yeah, the moderator sent us a note, does not encompass all of the rules about town meeting day, but it was some rules that were casually discussed when we were discussing Israel-Palestine item. He clarified some of that to us, so we can share that. I guess we should reach out to
Perhaps VLCT. I think
Yeah.
they're likely to have a guide to town meeting. And then, of course, you can get into Robert's Rules of Order, you get pretty arcane about how many times a motion can be amended and how to do that, how to table something.
Yeah, I think that's the nuance, or the kind of the interesting part, is that there's the VLCT and state guidelines for town meeting, and then how we run our town meeting is we use Robert's Rules of Order, so that would be a separate resource for everyone. So maybe we can post
I was gonna say,
clarification, and then I know Clint will give or Cliff will give us a synopsis.
Clint,
Yeah, well, rough day. We'll give a brief overview at the beginning of town meeting for anyone, as a refresher, a reminder of the big item, the big important procedural steps that need to happen for each item.
Adam, since he is the moderator, perhaps we should ask him if he has any suggestions that we could post on like the town website and along with our town meeting postings that help people prepare. And then also, you might consider, is there something we want to do that's kind of a cut and paste from that email about that topic?
Yeah.
Just for advanced guidance.
I was actually gonna bring this up before. If we have a light agenda the day before town meeting day, then I think it would be worthwhile to spend 20 minutes, half an hour on
Just talk about it.
this as like a informative session.
process.
Yeah, like just the whole overview of it. I have a rough presentation that I can send over to Clint to validate and make sure everything is all good to go.
Nice.
And if Clint's available, it'd be awesome if he could come, but he's probably preparing for a town meeting. But otherwise, I'm happy to help there, and I'm sure there's other resources we could find that is.
Josh, is there any reason we can't just post his procedural clarifications?
No, I don't see why there's any reason we couldn't just post that. I will ask Clint if he's okay with that. I mean, it's a public document, but if he wants to clean it up at all, then we can put it onto the town meeting webpage. So anybody can go there and read through that, because I agree there's some, even our moderator had to research exactly how to deal with some of those questions. So we could post that. We can reach out to VLCT and Clint as well to see if there's any general public guidance, because I think that's a good idea. And if we can find some of that, we'll put that on the webpage. And then I'll ask Clint if he's available to join on Monday night, the 2nd, to kind of go over sort of general rules and procedures with the board.
Redbird?
Adam, I don't mean this to be glib or anything, but I will observe for several years, we've talked about how to get more people to attend town meeting. And as a sort of unintended side effect that this topic may lead to a greater attendance and participation. We'll see.
I had a thought that I'm gonna put on front porch forum separately though, but for those that are under the age of 18 and looking to participate in democracy in a really effective way, I'm sure there's a lot of parents out there who could use some childcare that day so that they could go attend town meeting day. Be a really great way to help the democracy in your area with the sport.
We have another question, or I guess, yeah, statement of question. The understanding, the intersection that's kind of decision made. I think that's for the trial period, that's accurate. I would say long term, not necessarily. And then when do the signs go up? We are still in a waiting period, correct, Josh? So the stop signs?
Right. So the guidelines are there's a 44-day window in which to submit a petition. The last day for that would be February 19th, which is tomorrow. Oh, sorry. Did I say 19th? Let me make sure I got that date right. Sorry, 44 days, February 18th. So that tomorrow would be the last day for a petition to be submitted. If no petition is submitted, then the ordinance goes into effect and the stop signs can go up 60 days after approval, which would be March 6th.
So no sooner than March 6th.
And if a petition is received, do we want to talk about the path for that?
Sure. I have some notes on that. Let me just get to those quickly.
I think that if we receive a petition that contains the appropriate number or greater of registered voters, then the town has 90 days to schedule a special town meeting, right?
So yeah, it needs to be 5% of the voters, which is about 165 people in Richmond. Then the select board has 60 days from the receipt of the petition to schedule a special town meeting. The meeting doesn't have to be held within that 60 days, but it does have to be scheduled within those 60 days and a date has to be set for it. Per our charter, any petition brought against an ordinance actually would be voted by Australian ballot. So we wouldn't have a voice vote, it would be Australian ballot. And we'd have to warn it at least 30 days, but not more than 40 days prior to that special meeting. So should a petition come in tomorrow, we would add that to the next agenda for the select board to discuss when do you want to hold a meeting and get that noticed. And actually, it wouldn't even be a meeting, it'd be an Australian ballot. So there really wouldn't be a need for an in-person meeting, it would be straight to Australian ballot.
Oh, so it wouldn't be like oh, okay.
And presumably could be voted. Yes.
Yeah, that's what our I'll confirm all that, of course, with attorneys, but that's what it appears to be that the charter says.
Okay, and then, yeah, so that could be voted. We wouldn't need to schedule a special meeting. We could go to Australian ballot and vote here at the town center.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, I was talking to Suzanne about it and she thought that'd be a lot easier, assuming we don't need any sort of an in-person meeting, which I don't think we would. Again, I'll confirm all that with the LCT or attorney, but yeah, it could be as easy as, okay, so here's a date. We've got, however many 30 days or so of early voting, and it's just open at the clerk's office for a window of time to come vote.
Great. Thank you, Josh.
Anything else? Move to adjourn. A second.
Motion is second. All those in favor?
All right.
Greg, aye. David, nay.
Caitlin, aye.
Adam, aye.
That was good.
Thanks, y'all.
Vote against me. Have a good
You
evening.
got some signed stuff here. Hold on.
Nay. Sign our W9s. And the W4s and our I9s.
You got 2 warrants and a bunch of POs, so everyone's got to sign the
And the
2 warrants.
resolution.
One's from Project Altogether Now. And then the rest is the other warrants.
Altogether
We also
Now.
have the
Resolution.
resolution coming around. Got payroll coming around. I'll hand
There
out.
should be a letter for the library grant as well, Duncan, I think, in there.
Yeah, that's in with the surveillance resolution. So
Perfect. Thank you.
there too. There's a lot of, I guess we can stop the meeting. Do you want to stay on, Josh, or?
You're there. You seem to have it under control. Thank you very much.
Okay. Yep.
Thanks,
Hi,
Josh.
Josh.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.